Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population and with little or no meaningful engagement leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.
Campuses across Nigeria, from Lagos to Benin, Ibadan to Abuja, were filled on Tuesday, not with the usual student bars, but with placards and protest chants, as ASUU lecturers say enough is enough. They are demanding action on unpaid salaries, neglected agreements, and what they call the government's growing disregard for public universities. And with that big meeting set for tomorrow between the union and the federal government, everyone is asking, will this be the breakthrough or just another cycle of promises and frustration? It's another episode on your favorite primetime show, Ways. My name is Chioma Kalu. And tonight our conversation is centered on ASUU and the federal government. Can Nigeria's universities survive another breakdown? Remember, Ways is all about you, as you are the why in Ways. So be a part of the conversation every single day and add your voice to the discussions. Head on now to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV. Hit the subscribe button, like, share, and invite your friends to join the show now. When I open the phone lines, I would really want to hear your say on this topic. And as always, please ponder on the quote for the day. A country that does not invest in education is mortgaging its future. And this quote was by Nelson Mandela. We'll go into this much later, but first, we'll go on a break. And when I come back, we'll go through my news interests for the day. Stay with me. Welcome back to the show. It's now time for us to look at the news that caught my eye during the day. And the first news we have says, probe begins as Abuja-Kaduna train mishap injures 6. A passenger train traveling from Abuja to Kaduna derailed on Tuesday morning, leaving several carriages overturned and triggering panic among those on board. The incident occurred around 11:09 a.m. at kilometer 49 between Kubwa Station and Ashram Station. According to eyewitnesses, the derailment happened without warning, causing confusion and chaos as passengers rushed out of the affected cabins. The Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau confirmed that 6 passengers sustained injuries in the incident, although no fatalities were recorded. A team of investigators has also been deployed to the site to gather evidence and begin an investigation into the accident. The Nigerian Railway Corporation also confirmed the derailment and stated that the agency pardon me, stated that the emergency services had been activated to respond promptly to the situation. This is quite a sad one, but we're grateful that railway, whatever the problem is, I think the investigation, they should take it thorough, make it really thorough, and then tell us what this is, because now we're trying to explore other means of transportation. You know, something more effective, something cost-effective. But then when my safety is not guaranteed, it begs the question of what we're doing security-wise in the country. Anyway, moving on to the second story. Police to conduct IED simulation at Eco Atlantic City. The Lagos State Police Command said it would carry out an improvised explosive device simulation around the Eco Atlantic City on Thursday, 28th of August, which is tomorrow. The exercise, to be conducted by the Explosives Ordnance Disposal, Chemical, Biological, Radiological and Nuclear Unit of the Nigerian Police Force, is part of efforts to enhance the command's preparedness for bomb-related emergencies. According to a statement issued on Wednesday by the Police Public Relations Officer, Benjamin Hundein, the drill will involve controlled detonations managed by specialized officers. He emphasized that while residents and visitors may hear loud blast sounds during the exercise, there will be no danger to lives or property. The police command further urged Lagosians and assured them that adequate safety measures have been put in place to ensure the simulation runs smoothly and without incident. I think this is a good one. It shows the level of preparedness we have. And I must applaud the police force for this particular exercise. And yes, to those that live in, that environment, I hope you see this news, because they've warned, when you hear blasts like that, don't panic. If you have blood pressure issues, please relax, right? Because they said, yes, there will be those sounds, but that would just be them, test running. It's just an exercise, just to be prepared. God forbid if such a situation should arise. Anyway, to my last story of interest, over 5,000 cargoes trapped at ports amid 2 trillion demurrage losses. Goods clearing activities at Nigeria's seaport have been halted or scaled down significantly in the past 2 weeks, leaving over 5,000 cargoes trapped. Port users claim to have lost an estimated 2 trillion in demurrage. The disruption of port activities is caused by the persistent network glitches on the Nigeria Customs Service BODOGU digital platform, which has left manufacturers and other merchants incurring a huge loss. Coupled with the reintroduction of the 4% free on board, the effective cost of clearing, manufacturers have lamented, has risen by about 200%. They are also worried that much of the stock raw materials might not be useful when they are eventually released. I think this is so sad. This is really sad for these businessmen and women, because I think I understand what they mean by, for instance, some of the goods you get to import, they have a timeline for its usefulness. So imagine this particular set of goods getting trapped, at the ports for some reasons that you can't even explain as a business owner. And imagine your business partners, clients that are waiting for these goods, and you just start speaking English. It's very funny, but it's not at the same time. I really hope something is done. Over 5,000 cargoes is not a joke. I wish something is done very quickly as well, so that these men can go about their businesses. Because, if you look at it economically, this would also impact us if nothing is done. So I really hope something is done. So there you have it. These are my 3 stories of interest. And we're going to go on a break. And when we come back, we'll go straight down into our topic for tonight. Don't go anywhere.
Life is made up of moments, some that fill us with joy, others that test our strength. Welcome to Heartlines. This is our space to explore the highs and lows of human connection, the love, the heartbreak, and resilience that shapes our life. From relationships to friendships, parenting to partnerships, and so much more. Every week, we share stories and conversations that define us, navigating love, separations, the struggles of parenting, dealing with anxiety and managing the pressures and stress of life. Real conversations that bring us closer, helping us heal, grow, and connect. So join me Mondays through Fridays at 10 p.m. for Heartlines, the show where we connect hearts, have real conversations with real people, one story at a time.
Thank you for staying tuned. And if you're just joining in, today's conversation centers on ASUU and the federal government. And the question is, can Nigeria's universities survive another breakdown? Please, let's hear from you and hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation by sending us an SMS or WhatsApp message to 081-803-84663. And my phone lines are open now. You can call on 070-2500-7749 and on 0701-4242-420. Let me hear what you have to say. Moving on, this conversation, you know, across Nigeria, right, so universities in Nigeria, lecturers under ASUU, they've left the classrooms and they've taken to the streets with their protests, disrupting academic activities and sending a strong message to the government. They said, enough is enough. I think I like that. They are, you know, demanding unpaid salaries, fulfillment of agreements they made from all the way back in 2009, and real investments in public universities. And as we've been told, tomorrow being Thursday, you know, all eyes will be on the much anticipated meeting between the union and the federal government. So tonight, we're asking, can trust in Nigeria's university system be restored? Or are we headed towards another prolonged shutdown? Joining me to unpack this topic, I have Comrade Adegoriola Samuel Adejoye. He's the former SUG president of FUTA and also the chairman of the National Association of University Students Ondo State Chapter. Thank you so much, Mr. Adejoye, for joining me this evening.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you for... All right, good evening.
Good evening,
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be.
All right. We also have Dr. Peter Ogudoro, an educationalist. Thank you so much for joining me, Dr. Peter.
It's my pleasure to join you on the show.
Thank you so much. So we're talking ASUU. We're talking federal government. And I think at some point we are all tired of this conversation because I feel like every other year there is a conversation about ASUU and about the federal government not meeting their demands. So this time around, ASUU is protesting. You know, they're threatening to go on strike again. And this is quite sad, right? It halts, you know, academic activities. What is the fate of, you know, these students? There's a lot of things to actually think about. So, first of all, ASUU has protested repeatedly over the years, like I said, since 2009. Why is it difficult for the federal government to solve this issue permanently? Yeah, Dr. Peter, please.
Well, we live in a country run by politicians who are yet to understand and appreciate the indispensable place of education in national development. Again, you know that these politicians who ASUU negotiates with are people who don't seem to wear the shoe, and so they do not know where it pinches. Their own children are not studying in local universities because they have access to easy money, and they are able to send their children to universities in Europe and North America, and therefore do not have anything putting them under pressure to make the system at home work. This problem has lingered. It's very difficult for me to understand why we'll be discussing the same matter for decades. And for the particular issue that is on the table now, which they're negotiating on, this matter has been on the table for over a decade. And different governments, have been involved in it, and they still haven't found the patriotic spirit to be able to deal with it and put it behind us as a nation. And so it's very unfortunate, it's scandalous, it's not good for us as a people. We can't afford to continue to behave irresponsibly because the world is not standing still. The world is not going to keep waiting for us to come up to speed before they continue the journey. We know that where we are is not a good place, and to now contemplate not resolving this simple matter very quickly makes it hard for sensible people to appreciate why the politicians are dragging their feet on this issue. Because even with our current circumstances, even if you pay the salaries, we are still not in a good place because our lecturers are behind time on the general note.
Yeah.
They don't have the resources they need to be able to go abroad on a regular basis to attend international conferences and seminars and workshops and do cutting-edge research that will enable them to get the knowledge and skills they need to be able to support the young people in our universities to acquire education that will make them globally competitive. And we are aware that our laboratories have become very rusty, and they are not the kind of laboratories that will produce engineers that will help you to get the kind of infrastructure that we need to move in the direction of national development. So on every front, Nigeria is a whipping child of the world, and we are behaving as if we don't seem to care. So I think that hopefully when they meet tomorrow, they will understand the urgency with which this matter has to be attended to. Because if you don't get education right, all other efforts you're making to try to fix the economy, your politics, your crime, level, and other social matters, none of them will be resolved in the absence of good quality education, because it takes competent manpower to address those huge challenges that confront us at this point in time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Peter. I'm going to come to the meeting tomorrow, but before then, Comrade Adejoye, I want to ask, from the angle of the Nigerian students who are, in the middle of all of this, right? What is the long-term impact, right? How long will it take before these academic spirit, this quest for being educated, for whatever zeal it is, to die down in these students? How long? What is the long-term impact of all of this on the Nigerian students? Mr. Dejoye, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
All right. I want to say that the ASUU strike has been in existence even before I gained admission into the university. And it is much pathetic that this thing is still existing at this moment, even in the 21st century. And as Nigerian students, I want to say that ASUU is doing the right thing, because it is even looking as if protest is the only language that federal government understands. Just like Dr. Peter mentioned the other time, the children of the people in the power are not the direct victims of the effect of the strikes, of the effect of these protests and strikes, which is why they are finding it difficult to proffer lasting solutions to the problem. However, just like you asked the other time, this strike has lasting effect on the students, because the students, university students in Nigeria, are the main victims of the effect of this strike. Now, I think in 2020, the then ASUU chairman, Professor Sodeke, he described the long strike as a suffocating strike. But then this year, they are saying, ASUU is saying that they want to embark on a mother of all strike. Which one is going to be more modern than the suffocating strike? The suffocating strike lasted for 9 months, and I know how much it affected students who were at home that time. We were at home for about 9 months, for over 9 months, yes, 9 months in 2020, and it really affected us. In fact, when we resumed back after the strike, we found it very difficult to cope with our academic activities. Many of us forgot the names of our friends, and that is on another level. That is the simplest thing that should even happen to Nigerian students, to forget the names of your level mates. This has been affecting us, and it has also reduced it has caused a decline in the quality of education. Now, when I was president of the Students Union FUTA, I am the immediate past president. I handed over about 2 months ago. That was in June. And then one of the students came to complain to me that in their department, that initially they had over 30 lecturers, but now their lecturers are running away. They are traveling outside the country. They are traveling to the diaspora. And this is, you cannot stop them from traveling. Everyone wants a greener pasture. Everyone needs to run to a greener pasture. If that place is favorable, no one can stop them from going. But the effect is that it is going to cause a decline, a drastic decline in the quality of education. Imagine that they are teaching civil engineering students how to construct a building with mouths. We no longer have the resources in the country. And what ASUU is fighting for. As Nigerian students, we support ASUU. We are in total support of, we support ASUU, we back ASUU up. And another effect is that it makes the nation to lose its credibility. The nation loses its credibility, and at the same time, it's going to create a form of increase in the crime rate in the society. Students, there is a quote that an idle man is the devil's workshop. Once students are in their classrooms, they are busy. They find something to do with their hands. So they will not think of committing crimes. But you shut the doors of classrooms. Who shuts the door of classroom opens the door of prison. So this is going to have lasting and drastic effects on the students and the student structures in the country.
All right. Mr. Samuel, well, I have a few comments on YouTube, and I think Nigerian students are happy that you're here. So Christopher Adubi says, can't wait to hear from you, Mr. Sammy. Debito Darasimi says, here for Sammy. Well, I think you're doing a good work representing them. Moving forward, Dr. Peter, I have a question. Critics they often say ASUU, going on these multiple strikes over and over is more like weaponizing it, using it to punish students, right? While the government remain very unbothered. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think what is at the roots of the problem is ignorance on the part of our political masters. As I put on the table earlier, they really haven't understood how important education is. Even when it does look like they understand it to some extent since they send their children abroad. But as a tool for protecting and projecting our collective interest, it remains something that they are still struggling to understand. They don't seem to appreciate how indispensable it is. They keep thinking that they can fix the economy without first fixing education. They keep thinking that the political machinery can keep moving forward without our fixing education. They keep thinking that they can buy more guns and procure other instruments we use to combat crime. And then at the end of the day, just by fighting criminals with ammunition, they will be able to get the nation to experience sanity at the level of social cohesion. But they are making a mistake because the children the young people who indulge in these things are people who should be sitting in classrooms learning and acquiring the knowledge and skills they can use to do more productive things that will move us forward as a country. And as a matter of fact, if you also fail to pay adequate attention to your education, what you are saying in effect is that you are happy to use incompetent people to run your governance at all levels, whether it's social, economic, technological, or political. And so I'm not very sure that it is deliberate. I know that those who have some Marxist leanings might be thinking that the politicians are doing these things deliberately so that they are able to continue to be in charge and only their own children can flourish in this kind of country. From the point of view of research, having interacted with these politicians, I can put it on record that unfortunately for us, these politicians sadly do not really have the level of awareness, knowledge, and skills that would make them become very conscious of how critical education is as an element that moves the needle when it comes to national development. So that's where we are. It's very unfortunate for us. Maybe when they meet at the negotiation table, which is impending, they might be able to get pushed to a point where they truly understand that without education, all other efforts will end in a mirage.
Okay, just to add to that, about tomorrow's meeting, right? Do you think that meeting will genuinely build trust between ASUU and the federal government? Do you think we're going to see any changes, or is it just going to be another deja vu, like we've just been seeing?
We are hoping that will not be the case, but if we go into history, we are likely to discover from history that most of the time what brings us to this kind of ugly situation is that the federal government tends to send people who lack sufficient authority to make commitments on behalf of the government. And so when those people come there, the negotiation will get to a certain point where the people negotiating on behalf of the government will say, well, they don't have authority to go as far as ASUU would want them to go. Because at some point, they are likely to say, well, we are errand boys and girls. We have to go back to the people who sent us here to get approval before we can go beyond the limits that they have given to us. So I think that if we have to really get it right, the federal government should, at this point in time, learn to send people with the right authority. The Minister of Education should step in now, should be at the meeting tomorrow. They shouldn't just send, their boys and girls who are outside the main corridors of power to come and negotiate on their behalf, and then bring back reports to them and start looking at the report, set up another committee to look at what the people who return from the negotiation table have brought back, and that will occasion delay. Because if the reason why we are where we are, why ASUU is complaining, and why university lecturers are unhappy, and why brain drain has remained a major challenge, facing our country, is the fact that government officials have behaved largely irresponsibly over the years. They don't demonstrate emotional and intellectual respect for ASUU. These are people who have been in the school system learning, studying up to PhD, becoming professors, and these are individuals who train them. As a matter of fact, the people who are misbehaving are people who are products of this system. Unfortunately, once they finish from the system, they forget that the people who train them are people who can as well be doing the job they are doing. But they chose to sit down in the ivory tower to make sacrifices by way of working with young people to give them knowledge and skills to help to move the country forward. So the long and short story is to say that indeed, I'm not very, very hopeful that this matter will end tomorrow. They might be able to make some promises, but the question is, will the people who will sit at the table tomorrow on behalf of government have enough authority to commit government and execute immediately? Because what ASUU wants to see now is execution, not promises.
Right. I mean, execution, not promises. I think even me that is not inside ASUU, I think that's what I want to see, because I am tired of hearing promises. You know, but just before I get back to that, Comrade Adejuri, I have a question, right? What is the role of Nigerian students in all of this? Do you think we have a role in the negotiation? That is the students now. Do you think they have a role in the negotiation instead of always, you know, being the collateral damage of all of these strikes?
All right. The students are now the third party in this case, because the major parties are the federal government and ASUU itself. Now, the last strike that they had, the NAS president then, who is currently the SSA to the Nigerian president on student matters, that's Honorable Sunday Ashefon. He was at then the national president of the National Association of Nigerian Students, and he was a part of that meeting where he spoke on behalf of the Nigerian students. He expressed the grievances of Nigerian students, and he appealed to both parties to reach a consensus. Not just a consensus, but a consensus that can be implemented. But then, it's over times, the problem has always been with the promises. The problem has always been with the promises, and I want to say that by tomorrow, I believe that the Nigerian students, we also have a representative at the meeting, because Nigerian students, we are not just the third parties here, but we are the main victim, I mean the main sufferer of the consequences of the actions of both parties. So I totally believe that Nigerian students will be duly represented at the meeting. And I am convinced that the meeting is going to be fruitful, because since the president came on board, unlike other presidents, he has made his point so clear, and ASUU itself has shown readiness to negotiate. Yes, the ASUU has shown readiness to shift ground, because on every negotiation table, it is important for both parties to shift ground. You must know that when you get to the negotiation table, both parties cannot totally win all the things that they want. So ASUU has shown readiness. I read it on the news today that ASUU has appealed to religious leaders and National Assembly to help them interfere. This alone indicates ASUU's readiness to improve the education sector of the country. So we are going to appeal to the federal government to also be ready to implement whatever promises they have made, whatever agreement they've made with ASUU. This agreement is long and it is overdue already. Agreement is 2009. This is 2025, and it is over a decade. Yes, it is over a decade, and it has not been fulfilled. I want to say that we expect more of policies tomorrow than promises, than mere promises. As a matter of fact, promises are just mere words. And talking about trust as a point, I think the problem is that ASUU has trusted.
I'm sorry, hold that thought. We have to go on a break, and when we come back, we'll continue to unpack this topic. Stay with me.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light from my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria's energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, We will analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
Welcome back. We're talking about ASUU and the federal government. And, you know, ASUU has threatened to go on the mother of strikes. And we're wondering, right, are we going to see a change of heart after the meeting tomorrow? Or we're just going to see another breakdown? And joining me to unpack this topic, I have Dr. Peter Ogudoro, an educationalist, and Comrade Adegoriola Samuel Adejoye, the former ASUU president of FUTA and the chairman of the National Association of University Students Ondo State chapter. Thank you so much for staying with me, gentlemen. Comrade Adejoye, you were speaking just before we went on a break, but just to add to what you were saying, I want to ask, why do you think Nigerian students, you know, should continue to trust, you know, whatever meeting ASUU and the federal government, whatever the outcome of their meeting is going to be, after seeing, you know, having records of broken promises, and then also considering the fact that for every time ASUU says, oh, we're going to go on strike until they give us what we want, the federal government just throws something at them and they tend to grab it, right? So why do you think the students would want to invest that trust again this time around?
All right. I will not say the students we want to invest that trust. We are just hopeful. It is a faith already. It's a faith. And we are hopeful that at the ending of the meeting, they are going to reach a consensus. And the consensus will be to implement their previous agreements. So we are hopeful that the meeting is going to be fruitful tomorrow. And the other thing is that we don't want to blame the shortcomings of the previous government on the incumbent government. I think when the incumbent president resumed office, and even before his resumption, during his campaigns, he made several promises. And one of the key promises was that your 4 years will be 4 years. I could remember, that was what he said on the stage that day, that your 4 years course will be 4 years. Your 5 years courses will be 5 years. And you are not going to, no student will spend extra years in school due to strike or due to failure to fulfill promises made with the unions, I mean, ASUU and others. So I want to believe that the incumbent president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, will be so passionate, and we employ empathy to fulfill his promises. And this promise is not just an ordinary one. This is a key promise that it was very certain, it was specific about. He mentioned specifically that your 4 years will be 4 years, your 5 years will be 5 years, and that during his administration, no student is going to spend an extra years due to the failure of the government to fulfill their own part of the promise. And apart from that, we've seen different approach from the government that is showing signals that this government puts an importance on education in Nigeria, and one of it is the one that just popped up in the news recently, that the federal government has banned creation of new universities, new federal universities. And I think by doing this, by banning the creation of new federal institutions, it is going to allow the federal government to concentrate on improving the facilities and infrastructures of the existing federal institutions. And the second one is the NENFOD loan even though I am not a supporter of the NENFOD loan, because I am of the opinion that the money that was invested in NENFOD as loan could have been used to fund universities. And by doing so, this is going to reduce the amount charged by each university. And if the son of a common man can afford this, then there will not be any need for the loan. I really commend the federal government for the loan. However, I am not a supporter of the loan due to the points which I've mentioned. If the federal government has invested the millions, the billions which they invested in the loan into funding federal universities and into funding federal universities, then the school fees, there will not be any need for an increment in school fees, because what does the universities management need school fees for? It is to improve the infrastructures and other things. But if the federal government is taking care of all of those things with the money which they have invested into NENFOD, then there will not be a call for increment in school fees. And automatically, the son of a common man in Nigeria will be able to afford the school fees. So, variably, there will not be a need for the NENFOD loan.
Okay, Comrade Adejure. So I'm trying to, if I get you correctly, you said you commend them for the loan, the NELFund loan, but at the same time, you're not supporting the NELFund loan. So I don't know where you stand on that, but we're going to come back to that. But before we come back to that, I want to hear what you have to say about this particular conversation, this question of why the students should keep trusting the federal government's promises, you know, and negotiations with ASUU for every time they call them. What do you have to say, sir? Dr. Peter?
Okay. Yeah, well, it's always nice to give people benefit of the doubt. We definitely have a government that is 2 years old, thereabout. And we want to trust that before they got to office, they followed the trends in the education industry, and they know that where we are is not where we should be.
Yeah.
And we have reason to believe that if you have monitored the Minister of Education, who used to live in the US, and of course, having worked and studied there for a relatively long time, he understands that the US as a country derives its strength essentially from the quality of higher education. They do cutting-edge research, they fund their universities adequately, which is why they have the right infrastructure that enables them to rule the world, especially in the firmament of technology. So if such a person is at the helm of affairs in the Ministry of Education, there should be reason for us to believe that he wants to take full advantage of the experience he has had in the US, and he wants that to benefit the country that he has as his roots. So we should have some faith in what is about to happen, but we also know that politics is a tricky business, because everything that we will see as it concerns this negotiation will not depend on only the minister, who may mean well, but he will have advisors and political masters who will remote control him and insist probably on what they want to see. But let's believe that he has enough, vested interest in this matter, because his name will be tied to what is happening. And so if he's able to deal with this matter and give us a permanent solution to it, he will go into history as the man who came, who saw, and he also conquered.
Okay, I hear you say giving them benefits of doubt. At the same time, I hear you saying you don't have a lot of expectations. But I think I can understand that, because given the trend and what has happened over time, it will be very hard for you to have faith in these people. But then moving on, right? Why do we always, ASUU now, why does the union always fall back on industrial action, knowing the effect it has on these students, right? Aren't there ways we can, other ways we can, seek resolution of whatever disagreement we have with the federal government that is not strike? Dr. Peter?
Yeah, what could those other ways be? Before ASUU goes on strike, they engage in negotiations. And of course, you should know that ASUU runs a democratic organization. They don't do these things without due consultation of their members. And they actually generally vote before they step out and say, we are no longer running our classrooms. And so they follow due process. They consult, they put pressure, they write articles, they go on radio and television, and they talk to other stakeholders, opinion leaders, traditional leaders. They talk to parents. They send them on errands, encourage them to go and talk with the powers that be to see if they could use those interested parties and respected individuals in society to put pressure on government to do the needful. But the reason why they eventually bring us to where we always talk about strike is the fact that over the years they have come to learn that other things being equal, it seems the language that makes the government listen the most is the language of industrial action, which
But
is
have
very
they been
unfortunate. That is
listening?
not
Because we've been having industrial actions over and over. I mean, since 2000, in fact, we've been having industrial actions since 1990 something, right? Are they actually listening? Because I personally feel like when we go on these strikes, right, they now come and they throw crumbs, and ASUU gets to pick it up and run with it until they get exhausted, and then we go again for another industrial action. So the cycle continues. Are they really listening?
No, that may not be a comprehensive way to represent the ASUU experience.
Okay.
You should know that ASUU is just one element of society. Parents are involved in this matter. The students are involved in this matter. So when we get to the point of industrial action, what you find is that because the students are the grass that suffer when two elephants fight, pressure comes from everywhere, from parents, from the students, and sometimes out of sympathy, ASUU members return to their classrooms. It's not necessarily because they trust the government, it's because they do not want the grass to get crushed to a point where it cannot resurrect at all. And that's what tends to happen. So it's not that they trust the government, it's not that they are happy, taking half bread, which sometimes people say is better than none. But in the peculiar circumstance of Nigeria, they recognize that if they do not behave in that way that you have acknowledged, they definitely will be helping the system to get completely destroyed, which doesn't serve anybody's best interest. As a matter of fact, you should know that the ASUU people are also Nigerians. Their own children are studying in these universities because the average university lecturer in Nigeria lacks the financial capacity to send his or her children abroad for higher education. The people who are able to do that generally are the industry captains and, of course, the politicians who are supposed to be the ones helping us to resolve this kind of impasse. But that has not been our experience. So by way of summary, what I'm trying to say is that they know that these politicians are behaving irresponsibly, but they, from time to time, have a rethink as a result of pressure coming from different segments of society, and then listen and go back to the classroom and trusting that we have sensible, reasonable, and listening people in government who will recognize that continuous industrial action would definitely keep slowing down the pace of development for our country. And you see them going back to the classroom. But remember, when you were introducing this conversation, you did describe what they say they might do if negotiations break down again, will be the mother of all industrial actions. Maybe the time has come for them to move to that level that you're probably suspecting they might move to.
I don't know what to say. Anyway, just one question before I let you go for the both of you. So if you were to advise, both sides tonight, what immediate steps should be taken to avoid yet another collapse of this academic calendar? Because we're already behind, right? And that's why you're seeing different private institutions springing up from nowhere, and parents are scratching every coin they can get just to make sure their children are not caught in the web of ASUU strike. So what advice would you, give these two parties now to avoid yet another collapse of this calendar? Dr. Peter, I think you can go first.
I do not think, I do not think that ASUU has much problem. We haven't had much problem with ASUU. The people who have had problem with, have been, the politicians in government. They are the ones who come and put their pen on paper and renege and fail to implement the agreements. And so I suspect that one of the reasons why that has been the case is the fact that they tend to send people who do not understand government processes to negotiations, who then get there, reach agreements without understanding probably how far to lean the government purse is. And so at the end of the day, you discover that the government lacks the resources as a result of sometimes profligacy on their part to implement the agreements reached. So I would want them to engage in a very transparent way when they meet this time round, and put all the facts and figures on the table, and be honest with ASUU. If the money is not there that we assume is there, they should make it clear and show evidence so that we don't keep working on assumptions. And then expectations must be managed. They have to be very transparent in terms of how they explain what they are going through as a government, and so that people do not leave the meeting believing that A, B, C, D will happen, only to discover that only A, B have happened, and then C, D will make them start the whole process of industrial action again. So that's the way to go. There's need to respect the emotional, intellectual, aspects of negotiation processes, so that also people will believe that government does recognize that they are human beings who have emotions, who have children they take care of, who are also members of an international group of intellectuals who have right to leave the country if it becomes obvious that this place is not appreciating their value. And so let's take ourselves to that point. And on the part of government, again, we should appreciate the fact that these people we are discussing are not people you can easily replace. They are not primary school teachers who you can easily replace. It doesn't take only 10 years to produce a university professor. It takes decades to produce a university professor. So when a university professor gets tired of the way you're treating him and he chooses to check out, and which is what we have seen in many of our university faculties, you get to some places where you have 400. I was talking with a young man yesterday, a young lady yesterday who is studying one branch of engineering in one of the top universities in our country. And she was telling me that when they go to their laboratory, they are usually about 400 students studying, engineering, and they don't have more than 4 professors in the hall. You can imagine how we are talking about the practical environment where they do laboratory work. You have only 4 professors and you have 400 students. That's not education in the 21st century. It's not going to work. Their counterparts abroad study.
I'm sorry, Dr. Peter, I would have to cut you. Thank you so much. We're so pressed for time. Okay. In 30 seconds, Comrade Adejoye, what do you have to say? 30 seconds, please.
All right. I will just have to advise, I will appeal to both parties, I mean the federal government and ASUU, to find a way to reach a consensus. It may not be totally favorable to both parties, but then you should know that when you negotiate, you cannot win everything that you requested for. And just like the doctor said, I also advise federal government to be very transparent. ASUU is a body of elites. They have to understand the situation of things in the country.
All right.
Then on the other side, I mean,
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Like I said, we're pressed for time. But thank you, gentlemen, for joining me in this conversation tonight. Thank you for such great insights. And, you know, at the heart of ASUU's protest is more than unpaid salaries or broken agreements. It's about the future of our children, the credibility of our universities, and the strength of our nation. Every strike or protest is not just a disruption to classrooms. It's a disruption to dreams, students whose graduations are delayed, parents whose hopes are shaken, and a country whose future leaders are left waiting. Now, if government and ASUU truly care about education, then tomorrow's talks must go beyond promises. Like we've said in this conversation, they must deliver action. They must deliver trust and a sustainable plan for our universities, because when we fail our students, we fail Nigeria itself. Thank you so much for joining me in this conversation tonight. And before I go, do ensure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and most importantly, follow us on all our social media engagements. And remember to like, share, comment, and invite your friends and family to watch us and follow us. If you missed our quotes, here it is. A country that does not invest in education is mortgaging its future. That's by Nelson Mandela. I'll see you the same time tomorrow, and be sure to enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.